Shrewd, Todie, and Lyzer the Miser, a Ukrainian folktale. In a village somewhere in Ukraine, there lived a poor man called Todie. Todie had a wife, Shandell, and 7 children, but he could never earn enough to feed them properly. He tried many trades and failed in all of them. It was said of Todie that if he decided to deal in candles, the sun would never set. He was nicknamed Shrewd Todie because whenever he managed to make some money, it was always by trickery. This winter was an especially cold one. The snowfall was heavy, and Todie had no money to buy wood for the stove. His 7 children stayed in bed all day to keep warm. When the frost burns outside, hunger is stronger than ever. But Shandell's larder was empty. She reproached Todie bitterly, wailing, "If you can't feed your wife and children, I will go to the Rabbi and get a divorce." "And what will you do with it? Eat it?" Todie retorted. In the same village there lived a rich man called Lyzer. Because of his stinginess, he was known as Lyzer the Miser. He permitted his wife to bake bread only once in 4 weeks because he had discovered that fresh bread is eaten up more quickly than stale. Todie had more than once gone to Lyzer for a loan of a few gulden, but Lyzer had always replied, "I sleep better when the money lies in my strong box rather than in your pocket." Lyzer had a goat, but he never fed her. The goat had learned to visit the houses of the neighbors, who pitied her and gave her potato peelings. Sometimes, when there were not enough peelings, she would gnaw on the old straw of the thatched roofs. She also had a liking for tree bark. Nevertheless, each year the goat gave birth to a kid. Lyzer milked her, but miser that he was, did not drink the milk himself. Instead, he sold it to others. Todie decided that he would take revenge on Lyzer and at the same time make some much-needed money for himself. One day, as Lyzer was sitting on a box eating borscht and dry bread, he used his chairs only on holidays so that the upholstery would not wear out, the door opened and Todie came in. "Reb Lyzer," he said, "I would like to ask you for a favor. My oldest daughter, Basha, is already 15, and she's about to become engaged. A young man is coming from Geneva to look her over. My cutlery is tin, and my wife is ashamed to ask the young man to eat soup with a tin spoon. Would you lend me one of your silver spoons? I give you my holy word that I will return it to you tomorrow." Lyzer knew that Todie would not dare break a holy oath, and he lent him the spoon. No young man came to see Basha that evening. As usual, the girl walked around barefoot and in rags, and a silver spoon lay hidden under Todie's shirt. In the early years of his marriage, Todie had possessed a set of silver tableware himself. He had, however, long since sold it all, with the exception of 3 silver teaspoons that were used only on Passover. The following day, as Lyzer, his feet bare, in order to save his shoes, sat on his box eating borscht and dry bread, Todie returned. "Here is the spoon I borrowed yesterday," he said, placing it on the table together with one of his own teaspoons. "What's the teaspoon for?" Lyzer asked. And Todie said, "Your tablespoon gave birth to a teaspoon. It is her child. Since I am an honest man, I'm returning both mother and child to you." Lyzer looked at Todie in astonishment. He had never heard of a silver spoon giving birth to another. Nevertheless, his greed overcame his doubt, and he happily accepted both spoons. Such an unexpected piece of good fortune! He was overjoyed that he had loaned Todie the spoon. A few days later, as Lyzer, without his coat to save it, was again sitting on his box, eating borscht and dry bread, the door opened and Todie appeared. The young man from Geneva did not please Basha because he had donkey ears. But this evening another young man is coming to look her over. Shandell is cooking soup for him, but she's ashamed to serve him with a tin spoon. "Would you lend me?" Even before Todie could finish the sentence, Lyzer interrupted. "You want to borrow my silver spoon? Take it, with pleasure." The following day, Todie once more returned the spoon, and with it one of his own silver teaspoons. He again explained that during the night the large spoon had given birth to a small one, and in all good conscience he was bringing back the mother and the newborn baby. As for the young man who had come to look Basha over, she didn't like him either, because his nose was so long that it reached to his chin. Needless to say, Lyzer the Miser was overjoyed. Exactly the same thing happened a third time. Todie related that this time his daughter had rejected her suitor because he stammered. He also reported that Lyzer's silver spoon had again given birth to a baby spoon. Does it ever happen that a spoon has twins? Lyzer inquired. Todie thought it over for a moment. Why not? I've even heard of a case where a spoon had triplets. Almost a week passed by, and Todie did not go to see Lyzer, but on Friday morning, as Lyzer, in his underdrawers to save his pants, sat on his box eating borscht and dry bread, Todie came in and said, "Good day to you, Reb Lyzer." "A good morning and many more to you," Lyzer replied in his friendliest manner. "What good fortune brings you here? Did you perhaps come to borrow a silver spoon? If so, help yourself. Today I have a very special favor to ask. This evening a young man from the big city of Lubin is coming to look Basha over. He is the son of a rich man, and I'm told he is clever and handsome as well. Not only do I need a silver spoon, but since he will remain with us over the Sabbath, I need a pair of silver candlesticks because mine are brass and my wife is ashamed to place them on the Sabbath table. Would you lend me your candlesticks? Immediately after the Sabbath I will return them to you." Silver candlesticks are of great value, and Lyzer the miser hesitated, but only for a moment. Remembering his good fortune with the spoons, he said, "I have 8 silver candlesticks in my house. Take them all. I know you will return them to me just as you say, and if it should happen that any of them give birth, I have no doubt that you will be as honest as you have been in the past." "Certainly," Todie said. "Let's hope for the best." The silver spoon Todie hid beneath his shirt as usual, but taking the candlesticks, he went directly to a merchant, sold them for a considerable sum, and brought the money to Shandell. When Shandell saw so much money, she demanded to know where he had gotten such a treasure. "When I went out, a cow flew over our roof and dropped a dozen silver eggs," Todie replied. "I sold them, and here is the money." "I have never heard of a cow flying over a roof and laying silver eggs," Shandell said doubtingly. "There is always a first time," Todie answered. "If you don't want the money, give it back to me." "There'll be no talk about giving it back," Shandell said. She knew that her husband was full of cunning and tricks, but when the children are hungry and the larder is empty, it is better not to ask too many questions. Shandell went to the marketplace and bought meat, fish, white flour, and even some nuts and raisins for a pudding. And since a lot of money still remained, she bought shoes and clothes for the children. It was a very gay Sabbath in Todie's house. The boys sang and the girls danced, and when the children asked their father where he had gotten the money, he replied, "It is forbidden to mention money during the Sabbath." Sunday, as Lyzer, barefoot and almost naked to save his clothes, sat on his box finishing up a dry crust of bread with borscht, Todie arrived and, handing him his silver spoon, said, "It's too bad. This time your spoon did not give birth to a baby." "What about the candlesticks?" Lyzer inquired anxiously. Todie sighed deeply. "The candlesticks died." Lyzer got up from his box so hastily that he overturned his plate of borscht. "You fool! How can candlesticks die?" he screamed. "If spoons can give birth, candlesticks can die." Lyzer raised a great hue and cry and had Todie called before the rabbi. When the rabbi heard both sides of the story, he burst out laughing. "It serves you right," he said to Lyzer. "If you hadn't chosen to believe that spoons give birth, now you would not be forced to believe that your candlesticks died." "But it's all nonsense," Lyzer objected. "Did you not expect the candlesticks to give birth to other candlesticks?" the rabbi said, admonishingly. "If you accept nonsense when it brings you profit, you must also accept nonsense when it brings you loss." And he dismissed the case. The following day, when Lyzer the miser's wife brought him his borscht and dry bread, Lyzer said to her, "I will eat only the bread. Borscht is too expensive a food, even without sour cream." The story of the silver spoons that gave birth and the candlesticks that died spread quickly through the town. All the people enjoyed Todie's victory and Lyzer the miser's defeat. The shoemakers and the tailors' apprentices, as was their custom whenever there was an important happening, made up a song about it. "Lyzer, put your grief aside. What if your candlesticks have died? You're the richest man on earth, with silver spoons that can give birth, and silver eggs as living proof of flying cows above your roof. Don't sit there eating crusts of bread. To silver grandsons look ahead." However, time passed, and Lyzer's silver spoons never gave birth again.